Okay, important video time. Today, guys, I want to mention something that was passed over to me by a dear friend. Thank you, Paulie. This sort of thing should be more public. This sort of thing should be shared more often through the social channels of behavior, Dead by Daylight. It's a little bit of a shame, really. And while I do agree using your forums post as a way to communicate with your fans, your community, or whatever, I think that's great. That's great. Keep that up. Because you guys have been on fire lately, whether it be Mandy Talks, speaking about the Wesker changes that are coming, and now Peanuts, who's been talking about some of the skill-based matchmaking changes that are in the pipeline. Information that I'm pretty sure you're going to want to know. But before we get into any of that, guys, just remember I am live right now on Twitch doing extra long streams because Daddy, sounded weird saying that, is now on holiday for a week and a half. So if you want to come check me out, some of these 11,400 people could come and check out my streams. That would be great. We're playing DBD. You guys know the score. So this was passed on by Polyester. Thank you again, man. I really appreciate that. I do think this is worth sharing. So when is skill-based matchmaking getting an update? It's just a normal forum post. It was posted on September 14th. So when was that? That was yesterday. Okay. And I've scoured like online to see if anyone's talking about this or anyone's really brought it up. And so far, I can't really notice anything. But let's get into it anyway. I know there's matchmaking system currently, but that was just a quick plaster fix. I'm sure no developer actually thinks, it's supposed to be thinks, escaping shows singular player skill. I mean, you can't control your team to do gens or even for them to save you off hook. Not to mention, if the killer just wants you, he can easily just tunnel you out. And yes, while the killer may lose because 3 others escape, is it fair to punish that survivor who led on the killer for the whole trial? This is why I'm curious when the actual skill-based matchmaking will be added. While gens unskillful, I don't think it's fair to punish solo players because they can't control their team. And no, don't nerf killers. That's not the issue. The issue is skill-based matchmaking, just throwing randoms together. So that's good. It's good to know that he has at least a clear head. Don't nerf killers. It's absolutely ridiculous. And there's a lot of people that talk about this. I will provide a link below so you guys can check out this post yourself. But I do want to get to some of what Peanut says, community manager Peanut says. This one's a bit of an essay, but he does explain things slowly and well. So let's get into it. Not at all, but this is probably one of the most misquoted things, so it's worth talking about again. Escapes are not skill, but they are a proxy to skill. And yeah, I mean, we make fun of him and everything, the hockey and all that stuff, but he himself, even on that stream, said that it is a proxy to skill. He did use that term of phrase. This is to say that skill players tend to improve your chances of escape. This does not mean that the game thinks you're a bad player if you have a really good match but die in the end. It also doesn't mean that you're a good player if you hide all match and sneak out the exit gates after your teammates carry you. No matchmaking system in any game is able to accurately estimate your skill from a single match. I definitely agree with that. Matchmaking system works over the course of many matches to continually refine your rating. Yep, makes sense. I've played Dota for years. If you're lower than you should be, you'll outclass your opponents, and the odds of you winning will be higher, meaning you'll gradually climb over the course of several matches. To give an example, you lose 2 matches and then you win 2. You'll end up more or less around the same point than you started. The game doesn't then think you suck just because you lost a couple of matches. It's looking at a bigger picture and always trying to make sure you end up in the right spot. This isn't how my matchmaking goes usually. I play a lot of solo, so I think solo really does confuse the system at times, so let's keep going. The reason why matchmaking systems are a single metric like kills and escapes to estimate skill is because adding a ton of variables into the mix has huge consequences. Say you count 2 hooks as a win for the killer. Does that mean that the survivor who escaped also won? If so, you have a situation where both parties can win, raising both of their ratings. That might sound like an issue yet, but it has just created a scenario where on average you're more likely to gain rating than lose it. Meaning people on average always climbing higher. This completely breaks the entire matchmaking system. Yeah, I definitely agree. If you if you're going to create a win-win situation between a survivor and a killer, that will definitely confuse the algorithm with skill-based matchmaking. They'll just be like, what are we following here? Are we just going to push everyone up on this ladder? Or are we going to sort of like... It would be, that is a confusing part, you have to admit. But even so, adding in a bunch of other variables doesn't necessarily indicate skill either. If a killer gets 2 hooks, then that doesn't automatically mean they played super well. The matchmaker can't tell if you got those hooks through some tough chases, or if it's just tunneled someone off the hook and down them before they could get to a powder window. Adding these lengths into the mix is yet another variable, and yet again doesn't reflect skill. You might have downed someone really quickly because of a skilled play, but they also might be in a very safe part of the map where that's not possible. Already you can see the rabbit hole this is turning into. There's far too many factors to look into a single match and say, this person is amazing, strap a rocket to them and send them to the moon. I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone's saying that a single match... Like, I don't know why Peanuts is going off on this bit, but yeah, skill-based matchmaking should work on a massive variable of a few matches, 10 matches, 20 matches. It should be a constant thing. A single match, it would be such a stupid, way of... indicating skill. In Dota 2, when every season used to start, I don't know if they do this anymore, I haven't played in a long time. They used to have MMR calibration, so you'd have like 5 matches at the beginning of every season, and then you'd have those 5 matches, and it'll put you in a place where it thinks that that's where your skill is. That's kind of, similar thing. That would be really cool if we had that, but... By using a single metric like kills and escapes, that ensures that one person always wins and one person always loses or they draw. In order to keep climbing, you'll need other people with a similar rating. Otherwise, the gains you get from each match gradually diminish until you stop climbing. But all that said, the matchmaker's job is purely to stick you in a place where you'll win about half the time. So we're talking about those 2 kills, 2 escapes sort of area, which it's not to judge you or make you feel bad about yourself. Got a lot I could say about that. Whether that's because you're a legend who needs to go against other legends, or because you're crouching in some corner because you know you'll only last 5 seconds in a chase. It's only trying to find a spot where your strategy, regardless of how skilled it is, works about half the time. Or you could just watch some videos and try to better yourself as a survivor and killer. It's not meant to make you feel bad. That's not what I'm trying to say, or how anyone should feel. But if you want to get good at a game, you've got to put in the time. Does that make sense? I don't know. Let's keep going. To get back to the original question, yes, we do have some improvements in the works. This next part, very important, including team-based ratings. So dying heroically to save your team doesn't count as a loss. I look forward to sharing more info about it and other changes when they're a little bit closer to release. So we're going to be looking at a solo ranking, is from what I can understand, and a team-based rating. That is very, very interesting. And I believe I said on like open mic and stuff like that, that running out to save someone on your team should award you extra points or BP at the time. But if it's going to push your rating up, and that's a really good place to be, because it's going to reward that altruistic, heroic gameplay. And I think that's how this game should work anyway. But anyway, let's continue. So yeah, the conversation continues, and as I've said, I've put links in the description below. I take some responsibility for this. MMR systems are incredibly complex, and in hindsight, trying to boil it down to 1 or 2 minute answers in a Q&A stream was not the right medium for it, since we have a lot of casual players watching those streams too. We can't spend half an hour talking about how matchmaking systems work. Everyone would fall asleep. Going forward, I'd much prefer to talk about matchmaking system in blog posts and longer answers so we can give the necessary context. And while I absolutely agree that's a great idea, Peanuts, but to answer the first part of this statement here, just do the streams, even if you think you're going to make people fall asleep. The fact is, you've covered your ass, you've pushed it out, and you've said, right, we're pushing this out. If people don't want to listen, that's fine, but no one can say that we didn't tell you guys. Or at least, do videos or something like that and post them on Twitter and with links and all that stuff. There is a massive portion of your audience that really would appreciate this kind of context in video format. But if you don't want to do that blog post, fine. That's absolutely fine. But I'm always looking for that special touch between community and the devs. I mean, for me personally, I think a video is a nice touch, but that's just me. Moving on. All right, and in this bit, he's responding to Essentially, it's the game tends to be killer-sided in low-rank matchmaking due to survivors not understanding their goals. Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Everyone's a new player at that stage, though, aren't they? For the first part, I'm afraid I don't have an answer for that just yet. Our usual MMR wizard is off at the moment. That's funny. So I can't... just pictured Gandalf. It's weird. So I can't bug them for that answer. That said, there's a very difficult problem to tackle since trying to discern what is and isn't your fault is extraordinarily nebulous and hard to put into code. Going back to variables, there are so many things you would have to consider to determine if they played so well and that they shouldn't be there. I'll make a note and try and follow up while I can. Good lad. For the latter part, the matchmaking system already somewhat does this. Whenever a survivor dies or DCs, the game understands that the other survivor's chances of survival decrease dramatically. That's nice. As a result, your rating will decrease by a smaller amount for each teammate that's already dead. Okay, that does not expect you to win as the last one standing. That's cool. That's good to know. That's nice. And now he responds to the pip system in the first bit. So we're gonna read this for you guys as well. I mean, I know they're long, but there's a lot of information here, guys. The emblem system sounds better on paper, but it has the very flaw I was talking about above, and is the perfect example of why introducing more variables isn't always the right answer for matchmaking systems. The win condition, or a pip, has no clear winner and loser. Both sides can pip in any given match, and on average people would pip more often than they would de-pip. Agreed. This meant that over the course of the month, everyone would climb towards the red ranks as long as they played enough. Yeah, I mean, that's still the case, but at least you've changed it to a point where it doesn't represent skill. It might take less skilled players a little longer to get there, but the pool of players would get so diluted that being rank 1 ended up meaning nothing. That does not work in matchmaking system, since everyone would eventually end up in the same place, effectively matching anyone against anyone. The only thing that somewhat prevented everyone from ending up at rank 1 were rank resets, but again, this also suggests that your skill suddenly drops on the 13th of each month. Yeah. It may better reflect your performance in a given match, but it simply will not work for matchmaking since any system that allows both parties to win leads to endless climbing. After the hatch, taking the hatch does not count as a loss. Hatch escapes are considered a null. That's right, they've explained that before, meaning the game treats them as if they never happened. Note, bearing in mind that each match is treated as 4 separate 1v1 matches at the moment. Okay, escaping through the hatch as a survivor nullifies the whole match, but the killer can still gain rating from the other 3 survivors they killed. Yeah, cool. That's a good way of explaining it, even though I know that was the case. Nobody gains nor loses ratings by escaping through the hatch. To the point of more hours, levels indicated more skill, I'm afraid that simply isn't true. Yes, having more experience playing and more perks to play with can improve your odds of winning, but everyone has a different skill ceiling. Some people, try as they might, will play the game for years and peak in the average range, and that's okay. Some people play more competitively than others, and that's great too. No matter which game we're talking about, there's a reason why everyone who's been playing a game for a while can't suddenly make the jump to start playing in tournaments. Everyone's different, and there are absolutely people who have been playing for years in the average range. Yeah, and there's people who have been playing for years that are happy to be in the average range. They have no interest in being better. They just want to have fun with their friends, possibly as a social activity as well. Makes sense to me. And one more from Peanuts, I think. Is there any more after that? No, we'll do one more. This is the last one. Wow, we've read the whole thing. Look at that. This is going to be a long video. There's a couple of things that may be contributing to that, and he's talking about the how his explanations sound good in theory. The game build up confidence in your rating the longer you play. When you start out, it radically adjusts your rating each time you win or lose, but over time, it adjusts your rating less. Yeah, and that's again just talking about that massive pool of games that it's going to be judging you on. Yeah. This is because the game's trying to get a feel for where you should be, then trying to fine-tune if the longer you play, since you're typically not going to get rusty overnight. However, big balance changes can cause your escape rates to drop, and it will take some time for the system to adjust. Outside of that, there's just some conditions that can cause your rating to decrease slower than normal. For example, if you were the last survivor to die, your rating will be adjusted less than if you were the first. Or if the killer's rating is significantly higher than yours, the game expects you to have a lower chance of survivor, so you'll lose less rating if you die. See, that's really cool. I like that. That's very cool. That sort of gives you those, you know, pog moments where you're like, oh, I mean, I wish we could see it all. That's my problem, right? It's like, oh, this kill is going to be really rough this game. I don't think we're going to win. And then you win, and then you go, fucking hell, nice. We're going to get an increase in that. That's brilliant. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to share that from Peanuts, and this original post is Entity Spawn. Thank you so much. I appreciate your post. It was good to get some good conversation happening. I'm going to put a link in the description for you guys if you want to check out the full conversation there. And Peanuts, I'd like to thank you as well for being very transparent, having a conversation with us. It feels great to have that communication with you guys. And yeah, the only thing I would say, any critique I'd have at all would just be try to get this out there, try to make it more public, because this is a conversation I guarantee you my community will want to know, and the overall DBD community really want to know. So, but anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Click the notification bell. It really does mean a lot. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Discord. All the links are in the description below. Have a look, check it out, join the community. Love you guys. And remember, I'm streaming right now, so come on over and check it out on Twitch. See you later.